2021. Marty, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, I'll go at a slow enough pace that everybody can follow. I pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag
of the United States
of
of
the United
America,
States of America,
Can you hear me?
and to
No,
the
it's me.
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one
Hello?
nation,
Yes, we
under
hear
God,
you. Yay!
indivisible.
with liberty and
justice.
justice for all. Boy, I'll tell you, that was
Wow.
something. We're getting
Okay.
worse instead of better.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence, recognition of our troops who go in harm's way to keep us safe, our police, our emergency services, and all our healthcare workers for their service to us during the time of the pandemic. Thank you. This meeting, as all our meetings are, is being recorded. Chairman's report. The board met prior to this meeting in executive session to discuss some real estate matters and a few personnel matters. We don't have any public hearing tonight, and we'll move on to emergency services reports. Chief Bernat will be joining us at 7:30. So wherever we are in the meeting, when she joins, we'll have her give her report. So with that, Carmen, are you going to do the fire marshal's report?
Yes, sir, with your approval.
Please do.
I'm going to give you East Goshen stats only, but for
Okay.
Goshen Fire Company, for the month of January, we had 15 fire calls, 8 fire police calls, and 163 EMS. Malvern for East Goshen, there might be a typo in here. It says they had 21 calls, but they had 3 BLS, which is basic, and 19 ALS, which is advanced. So they had 21 or 22 calls, may be a typo in there or something. We just got a fire call. Sorry for the background noise. Good Fellowship had a total of 48 calls for East Goshen, which is about standard. They're 10.8 of their run district, and we average 10 to 11. On the agenda, it had that there was a report from me. It's not in the packet that I got, but does it have to do with Thorncroft by any chance? David?
I don't know.
Okay. They have me down here, but I don't know if my report got in time or not. So let's let it go till next meeting. It's just some action. I had some meetings and so forth at Thorncroft, going over an emergency plan with them.
Okay.
But more detail that you will get or should have gotten.
Okay. I don't know if that was in the packet, so why don't we just?
I know that was not in the packet.
Okay.
So I thought you were going to give it verbally. I didn't know that was your formal report.
Oh, okay.
My
Well,
mistake.
that was my verbal formal report.
Okay.
What I met at Thorncroft with new administration, they seem to be very fire concerned, thank gosh, with all the barns and straw and everything. So I did meet Vince from our code department down there, and we spent probably an hour and a half with staff. I had a lot of recommendations on 2 different kinds of fire extinguishers. The use of the fire extinguishers, I told them I would instruct them once we get past COVID a little bit. And so basically it was just so they could start enacting an emergency plan. I'll work with them as need be, and I'll partner up with Vince as need be also.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. The Malvern Fire Company and Good Fellowship, does anybody want to do that, or did you folks all review the numbers? Anyone have any questions about that? Or
I had one very basic question on the reporting under the Good Fellowship, and I just hadn't really paid attention to it, I guess, in the past, but the sheet on miscellaneous call information, it goes down an extensive list of call type. And when I was looking through it, one of the stats I often look at is overdose. And I looked and I went, oh, that's really, it's really dropped down. That's a positive sign. but then I went up a little bit and then I saw more overdose, and I see it's broken out by ALS and BLS. And I wonder if there's I don't know whether it's just pedantic to suggest that they be at least summarized, or if there's a real need to distinguish the two and put them still in the same column, if you will, the same report, because there's actually 12 overdose responses, but they were within two different levels of service. And I'm not sure if there's any value in breaking them out or not, Carmen. I just thought I'd mention it because I hadn't noticed it before.
I can certainly go back to Good Fellowship and ask them, Michael, and that's a good point. However, the reason they do have it broken down is because the county keeps stats based on BLS or ALS, basically.
Yeah.
In the advanced, you're liable to get into the drug treatments, the emergency treatments, where basic life support could be, I don't know, waking somebody up or something like a preventative.
Yeah.
I can certainly check on it, but I think it might skew their reporting system, the way they have to report to their admin, the way it has to be broken up. But I'll be glad to check on it.
Yeah, just a curiosity. I wasn't trying to rock the boat. It just kind of popped up and I went, oh, there's thanks.
I'll check on it, Michael. Thank you.
Thanks,
Carmen, do you happen to, or Ricky, do you happen to know between the southern part and the northern part, if you want to call it that, are they fairly imbalanced over time with respect to the load on these people, or is there a significant difference that we really should be aware of? You know what I mean?
Marty,
they have roughly the same number of calls between north and south.
I can sort of answer that a little bit, Marty. If you look at East Good Fellowship stats, because they only handle like a little part of East Goshen up to the 5 Point Road corridor and so forth. What Goshen gets hit with are all the retirement communities, the Pembrokes, the Bellinghams, the Wellingtons.
That's right.
So if you go back, it's very easy, and I'll be glad to show somebody if I could ever figure out how to do a dictator on the screen. But if you go to Goshen stats, into not the simple stuff that I read, but into their actual reporting, they will actually have a much further breakdown of senior citizens, regular. They have it broken out. That's why Goshen calls are so high in comparison to Good Fellowship, because Good Fellowship has that side of our township that doesn't have a lot of nursing facilities.
Yeah, right. You're right. Absolutely. I should have known that.
And that definitely impacts the emergency service calls.
Yeah. Are they to the point where they ought to change the zones so that you kind of make the thing more fairer, so to speak? Because the more seniors you have, the more you're going to have stuff to do, even though it's menial stuff in most cases, I would think. But the point being, where we picked the boundaries, we probably did it in such a way that we thought we were being even Steven, but we're not even Steven because of the old folks' homes, so to speak. And I'm just wondering if we should change the boundaries to make the thing more equitable.
Marty, I think that would be possibly some talk in the future. I'm not sure. If you look at Good Fellowship, and here's just an example, they do a wonderful job in our township. They're 10.8, we're 10.8% of their reporting. But if you take into consideration that they cover Westchester and they cover East Bradford out there off of Minor Street, there's a nursing home out there. By the time you put some of their other districts into it, they've got calls that knock us out of the bubble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
It would
So
certainly
the answer's
be
probably better to leave it alone.
Well, then you might also potentially get into fire districts. And that would be something that would really have to be done on a different level other than what we're talking about tonight.
Right, I agree with you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thanks, Carmen.
Any other questions on emergency services? All right. Thank you very much, Carmen. Good to see you as
Carmen.
always.
Thanks, Carmen.
Hi, Carmen.
Next agenda item is the financial report. Is Chris on or?
Chris won't be here tonight. Well, we ran a deficit for the first month, which is not uncommon, because with some of our invoices are front loaded. But as of the end of January, we just had just under $5 million in the bank. On the expense side, all departments are under budget. The real estate transfer tax is up significantly, and also the code department. Both of them are above what we project for the year to date. And other than that, the audit finished up their in-house work here, and they're now doing whatever they have to do back at their office.
Okay, good. So Mark Miller, we cut your salt budget this year because of last
I
year's.
was going to say,
No,
I think we ought to congratulate Mike for taking some of that money out of the snow plowing. and putting
We're
it
going to
in-
need to buy any more salt.
That was a great decision, Mike. That one more snowfall, we got ourselves covered for the next year.
How do we actually look for salt, Mark?
Pretty good. Right now, we have one bin full, which is 400 ton. I have 300 ton coming tomorrow, which will definitely get us through the next storm and another storm. You always want to keep at least, you will need to fight storms, at least have storage for 2 storms. So right now, we've gone through what we asked for in our contract. We're at the end, coming up on the end of February. Then you got March, you might get one more big one. So I think after tomorrow's load of 300 ton, we should be done with salt to the end of till this time till December next year.
Hey, Mark, when you do the township, how many tons of salt does it take to do the whole township?
Just under 300 ton.
300 tons?
But you got to remember, for example, brine, we've done 3 applications of brine, which was a total of 11,250 gallons, which equals out to 29 and a half lane miles per truck. And the other thing, I'll have a detailed report, like I told Michelle, in March. But just to give you a heads up, like that 4-day or 3-day storm, our trucks averaged over 300 miles a day, 300 miles for that storm, which equated out to, with all the trucks, like 3,200 miles we drove in that storm.
Oh.
So it is what it is. I mean, we're trying to, like we're going to go out tomorrow and brine everything. The brining seems to help a lot. So we do the brine, we cut back on salt usage. So, it's a give or take thing. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I have to share with you that while you can't see it too well, this little scale model of a truck filled with salt was given to me as a going away present, but not to be forgotten from my public works at East Bradford, because every time the salt trucks would come in and load the bin with salt, I would jump up from my desk because I'd hear them beeping and backing up. And I go, oh no, there's more dollars just going out the door. So they gave me this truck filled with salt and said, well, we'll be thinking about you. You think about us.
There you go.
That's pretty funny.
And
Hey,
we
Mark,
have go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, do you have any idea how much you've spent on repairs on the trucks or overtime? Is there anything else you can share with us?
I will have more detailed report at your first meeting in March, but I can say that repairs to the trucks have been way down. We did have one serious injury, which I'll give you pictures of. The young fella hit a curb down at the chamber, and it just racked the whole steel frame and everything on the truck. So instead of sending it down to Intercon, Steve Walker and Kevin took on the challenge of ripping the whole front end off the truck, put all new steel on, cut it, welded it, everything. It was probably $10,000 job when we did it for probably about $4,000. It was probably less than $4,000.
Yeah, that was last month, I think, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And then I banged the curb up with my plow and folded that. That was $1,000. But we have a system where after every snowstorm, the trucks get washed. Then they come into the repair bay, and whether it be Stephen Walker or Mike Ennis or Kevin Miller, they tighten every bolt on the truck because the the plowing is just the hardest. The bolts come loose and everything. So by doing the preventive maintenance, we have really nil in downtime. So for what it's worth.
I think it's worth noting, if you heard it a minute ago from Mark's report, where he talked about the truck and the calamity there, he used the word not damaged, but injured. And that just goes to show how much he cares about his fleet, that he treats them as if they were human. Am I right, Mark?
Yeah, yeah. But hey, seriously, I've taken Michelle out. I've taken John out. If any of you want to go out, it's an experience I think you need to see. We've gotten a lot of reports of damaged mailboxes, 35 to date. I went out after the storm and I took them all, and the ones that were snapped off, I could take them. They're rotted. I could push it straight. Not all of them, but the one gentleman down, but he wanted to argue that the plow hit it. I took the truck, the plow out, and showed him if this plow hit that mailbox, it would have disintegrated it.
Yeah.
It's just the weight of the snow. And them guys were running 18, 19 miles an hour. That's all they're doing. They're not flying. They're honest to God, they're not flying.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll tell you, we got the best public works guys.
Yep.
From the time in the first flake until time to go home, they were there for 3 days straight through, never complained, nothing. They just plowed snow, come back. As long as I can keep them fed and keep them dry, they'll plow till cows come home.
All right. Any other questions on the financial report? It's always weird to do financial reports.
Mark is hiding two dogs there.
Getting the year started.
No question.
Mark Miller has two dogs.
Hang on, I think there was something I had. Let me go through.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, my question was about the Brandywine SPCA. So there's an annual contract. We paid $1,688.26 to them.
Michelle,
right?
you're talking about the
You're talking about the bills.
Oh,
that
I'm
the
talking-
treasurer's report.
Nothing on the treasurer's report. I was just looking at expenditures. Sorry.
okay.
I'm good on everything else.
You want to, when we do the treasurer's report, you want to bring that up?
Yep.
And Chief Bernat has joined us, I see, and I know she's got 3 meetings tonight. So, Chief, we agreed to amend our agenda so that when you were able to join us, that you could go ahead and do your report. So it's a good time to break after finance and go ahead and do your report.
Thank you for your flexibility. It's a challenge with 3 meetings. Normally, when I come to the township meetings, I give crime statistics. I give a summary of the significant incidents that occurred in the township. And tonight I want to totally deviate from that. And I want to focus on one and only one issue. How will the police department communicate with residents if there is an emergency? After the event that happened last week, I really think this is important to emphasize. There are 3 and only 3 ways that we will be able to communicate with our residents. The first way is reverse 911. The officer at the scene notifies the 911 dispatcher to send out a brief summary of what's going on. And the dispatchers record a message and they send it out through a system. Now, the only people who will get calls through reverse 911 are landlines, true landlines, not voice over IP. The second way that they'll receive a communication is if they signed up for our Crime Watch emergency broadcast. They will get notification via email and or cell phone, like a text message, and you have to sign up for that. The third way that they'll receive communication is if they signed up for Ready Chesco, but Ready Chesco is only a large scale emergency. And again, you have to sign up to receive that. If you have voice over IP or no landlines or whatever, it's really important that you signed up for Crime Watch and for Ready Chesco. The bottom line is for 3 years, we have had the Crime Watch platform at the department, and we have asked and we have begged and we have pleaded with people to sign up. But to date, roughly less than half of our total residents have signed up for Crime Watch. In case of an emergency, that's how communication is going to occur. It is operationally impossible for us to go door to door or to personally make phone calls in case of an emergency. So for residents, if you want to protect yourself and your family, again, we are once again asking you to sign up for Crime Watch and also sign up for Ready Chesco.
And then we
And
bring
that's
that
really
in our newsletter when we put that out, and we'll make sure that we emphasize that again, not only like we normally do, but with maybe a separate paragraph or in the chairman's letter to residents. We'll emphasize the need to sign up and tell them again how to do that. Can you give us, Chief? And we did have a kind of a major incident. Can you give us a briefing on that?
Pretty much everything that you probably want to know was reported by the Daily Local. We responded to a residence where family members indicated that a family member was having a mental health crisis. As a result of that crisis, he threatened to kill family members and other people, including the police. Ultimately, they fled the residence, and that's when we became involved because they contacted 911. Officers establish a perimeter. For high-risk incidents like that, we use our emergency response team that we're one of the partners for Westchester area, ERT. When ERT responded, their standard protocol is to open negotiations. We have a lot of technology, we have a lot of resources, but the individual did not want to talk to us or negotiate with us or have any communication with us. And then suddenly, and I do mean very suddenly, he fired 15 rounds at our ERT members, pinning them down behind a vehicle. And as a result of that, one of the members of the ERT team fired 2 rounds, striking him.
Chief, let me ask a question. In that sequence of events, when was the door shot open?
The door was not shot open. We used other tools in order to basically breach the door so that communication could occur, so that throw phones could be utilized. And ultimately, if somebody will not respond, at some point, our plan was to use other resources such as a robot.
I saw the door, it was blown apart.
Yeah, it was breached.
When? Before or after he fired?
Before he fired. That was part of our attempts to communicate with him. Tried to get a cell phone in there, and if he wasn't going to respond to a cell phone, then to send a robot in.
Okay. Thank you
Chief,
for that.
can you tell us who breached the door? Was it county or was it WeGo?
It was the ERT team. They have the expertise for negotiating and for all tactical operations. And that's why when the investigation, which I'm sure you read in the Daily Local, when an incident like that occurs, the county detectives and the district attorney's office comes in as an independent party to conduct an investigation into the incident. So they were not involved until after everything had occurred.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
do they issue a report from that then, Chief? Their
Yes.
investigation? Okay.
When the investigation is concluded, the district attorney's office will issue a formal report, and generally that is also covered by the Daily Local and other news media.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening, everyone, and I'll go off to my next meeting.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Hurry up, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving back to our agenda, we're back to approving the minutes and the treasurer's report. So the minutes that we have are actually 2 sets, I think, from Tuesday, January 26th, our planning meeting session. Is the first one.
You know, David, on that one, while you're thinking about it.
February
it
2nd,
looks
David.
like Susan did that.
And the meeting
Susan,
February 2nd. Thanks, John.
did Susan type that? Did you type that, Susan?
Which one?
The one for the night we had the planning?
No, that was Ruth Kiefer. She did those minutes for the,
I'll tell you, those minutes were really done well.
yes, yes. that was Ruth.
I would, whoever did them needs to be congratulated.
Ruth, yeah, she's,
And then the February 2nd, draft minutes. Anybody have any comments or questions about those minutes?
Yeah, I read it carefully. It seems like they're right to me.
Okay,
Something that
Everything
somebody
looked good
could-
to
I
me
don't know.
too. I would make a motion that we accept both sets of minutes. as
Second,
thank you, John.
submitted.
Any public comment regarding the minutes?
Oops, sorry there. We have one person from the public, but there's, if you have a question, please hit *9 to raise your hand so that we can have you addressed. No, David, you're good.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. And next is the treasury report. Michelle, you had a question.
Yeah, Rick, I had a question about the SPCA. So we have an annual fee that we had to pay them. And apparently there was another pickup on the 11th of February. Can you tell me, has there been any success with any of the past, since we passed that ordinance, changing things and charging the resident the fee, the pickup fee? Have we had any success in getting any of those monies back into coffers?
I don't
Do you
believe
know?
we had this year, we haven't had any yet. Where the
So
residents-
I know we had a couple, I thought we had a couple in the fall that came after the ordinance. Am I mistaken?
I'll be honest, I'll go back and check if we had. I don't
Okay.
recall.
I just wondered if we've had any success in billing that fee and getting that collected.
We can only collect it if the owner comes back and claims the dog.
Right.
or animal.
Any other questions about the treasurer's report?
I'm looking, I don't think so.
And we lost our member of the public, so we don't have any public.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr.
expenditure.
Chairman, I move that we graciously accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as summarized in the treasurer's report.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Second,
Yes, second.
Mike, thank you. Any further discussion? We don't have any members of the public, so I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Old business, we don't have any. We're moving on to new business. And the first is to consider the recommendation for milling machine bid. Mark, I just had a question on this. Comparatively, is this increase, decrease, kind of a push with
It's
previous?
basically, it stayed the same. But we bid 2 machines. One, we won't use them both at the same time, but the smaller W20, 120 is for doing cul-de-sacs and small streets. When we do a full depth mill, then we would rent the Road Tech model. So that's
Yeah.
why she put both in there as she did. But I don't think we'll spend 20,000 or the 15,000. They usually knock it out in 2 or 3 days.
Okay, very
Mark,
good.
I'm presuming that the Weirkin milling machine is a 4-footer, not a 4-incher.
Correct.
Okay.
Very narrow
Really
roads here.
fine work if you were going to do that.
Boy, that's a great straight line too.
Mike, you got too much time on your hands.
I know, it's nothing like being retired now, right?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Mike, I actually picked it up and I told Susie, but she'd already have them printed, so that's what we're here.
Then one of those guys will probably pick it up.
Yeah, it was you too.
Question, it is a weekly charge. Can we get it any better than that to get a per diem cost, or is it on a weekly basis, Mark, and that's it?
On a weekly basis.
Okay, I thought that was the case. I just thought I'd ask.
And I'll be honest with you, he always works with us. So if you get a rain day or whatever, they don't charge you because you're not out during the rain. So CC&T has been very good to work with.
Okay, all right.
Mark, is that the reason that we only have one bid?
Yeah, I mean, we put them all out there, but they're the only ones that, rent out the big equipment like that. Because it's a very technical machine. And Mike Holmes and Mike Ennis are the ones that run it. So, they're very happy with the way we take care of their machine when they bring it back. So yeah, it is what it is.
So, Rick, when we only have one quote on a bid, this is obviously over $10,000, do we have to do anything special, or can we just go ahead and approve this?
It was publicly advertised and solicited, so no, you're good.
Okay,
As long as the bid is, the singular bid is qualified and there's no omissions and it's responded according to the bid document.
that's what I thought. There's no exceptions to the bid document and so on. So we can hear a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we accept this bid from CC&T Groff Tractor in the total amount of $35,000 for 2 weeks for 2 machines, or $17,500 for 1 week for 2 machines.
A second.
So whatever he needs.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the consideration for dimensional variance for 198 Oneida Lane. I think we have a guest, Carl. You want to give us a little background? We've all reviewed the documents and we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so you have seen the documents. I don't need to share a screen or anything.
No.
Okay, so yes, my name's Carl Holden. I live at 198 Oneida Lane. I've lived there since 1996. We're basically requesting a variance from section 240-32-P of the zoning ordinance regarding storage sheds and accessory buildings. And what we're asking to do is construct a storage shed at 182 square feet with a maximum height of 15 square feet. What the ordinance allows is basically either, and we have a little over an acre of property, and the ordinance allows either one shed at 240 square feet or 2 sheds at 120 square feet with a maximum height of 12 feet. We have an existing 55 square foot wood shed on the property, and we'd like to construct a 182 square foot storage shed for a maximum of 237 square feet. Which is less than 240 square feet. And we'd also like to go to a maximum height of 15 feet. And the reason for that is we're just trying to maintain the aesthetics of the existing house. The house and garage have 12-12 roof pitches. We'd like to do the same pitch on the storage shed, which would basically require, right now, it looks like 14 foot 6 inches, but I'm asking for a little leeway to go to 15 feet.
You might want to tell everybody what your own business is that you do for a living, because I was more confident after you communicated that. I thought you were here, but I guess maybe it was at the planning commission, but nevertheless, that's pretty effective, I thought. So everybody else, that's your living.
I'm an architect, as is my wife, actually. So we designed the house together, and we're designing the shed together, and we'd like to build it. Although I'm not going to build this one.
Carl, the use of the shed is going to be, will it be traditional storage? I noticed adjacent to also a terrace. So will it be used as storage? What's the usage?
Yeah, it's really for storage. We have a tractor and a snow blower and lawnmower and a lot of garden tools, and we'd like to get them out of the garage and put them in the shed.
Okay.
I believe, if I remember correctly, that all the pieces of equipment are using conventional stuff in the equipment, right? You're not doing anything tricky.
In terms of the
I
equipment,
mean, you got tractors and you got, all the stuff that's going in the various storage areas are what belongs in them. It's not something that you wouldn't expect in there.
yeah, no, I mean, the tractor is actually a lawnmower. It's a John Deere. We call it a tractor, but it's a lawnmower.
It's just, the point being, is a straightforward thing. It's a straightforward job.
Okay.
And I think that I don't think you talked about it, but some of it is made to synchronize with everything else so that you don't have a distortion in there. And of course, they can do that based on their background.
Marty, probably a more pointed question would be, is the shed going to have a conditioned space with heating and cooling and that sort of thing? And Carl, I'm going to assume it's just going to be, cold storage, if you will.
Correct. Yeah, we're not planning on heating or cooling.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that. That's a good point though, Mike.
think it's
Anybody
a-
that can design a shed with his wife and not get divorced is okay with me.
Yeah,
The whole house together.
In a house.
there you go. I think it's
You're still
important
worried about what quick questions they asked the chief for the other thing.
because of the proximity of the shed to the house. I think it's important to maintain the aesthetics of the pitch of the roof. If it was out in a yard somewhere, it might be a different story, but so I don't have any problem with it at all. Anybody else have any other questions of Carl?
No, I think he made a nice job with this. Plus, we got nice
All right.
information on it.
Before the
I
board
will.
takes the motion, I want to share, as I have in the past, and so Carl understands it. The current motion that's before us is whether the board would motion to support the request for a variance. My position in the past on these matters, except that unless it's a very unusual circumstance, while I'm supportive of this application, I am not in favor of a motion that supports it to the zoning hearing board. I prefer a neutral position and let the zoning hearing board do their business. So if it's the will of the board to accept the motion, to act on the motion that's been presented, i.e. to support it, Carl, you will hear me say that it'll be a 4-to-1 vote, but I just want to share that I'm supportive of it, but I think a neutral position is where I come out on most of these applications, to not unduly pressure, if you will. And that's a very loose word, the zoning hearing board. They know what they're doing. And it's great that we get a chance to review these things, but rarely am I supportive to the zoning hearing board of it. I may be supportive of the application, but not in the motion. So if you hear that, if it plays out, I just wanted to make sure that if you saw me in the supermarket, you didn't give me a bad look.
And Carl, I would just like to ask, do you intend on asking for the original shed to be increased in size at any point? Is that your intention, to leave the shed as it is, the 55 square foot existing shed?
Yeah, there's actually a picture of that in the back. It's just
Right.
a wood shed. Yeah, we've
So
no.
your intention is to leave it, and you're not intending to ask for additional square footage on that. Is that correct?
Nope.
Okay.
I think Carl now realizes, Mike, that you're a PIA.
I need a motion.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to have the Board of Supervisors support this dimensional variance request to permit the proposed 182 square foot storage with a height of 15 feet maximum as depicted in the application and plans for the following reasons. As stated here, the dimensional variance relief sought by the applicant will have no adverse effect on the essential character of the neighborhood. And the relief sought is minimal relief needed to construct the new storage shed so that it will match the architectural style of the existing dwelling. And I think there should be a category 3 on here that says to keep his wife happy.
Or John.
I second the motion.
All right, on seconds, any further discussion?
I'll second it. I'll second it.
John, you have a question?
No, I'm ready to say aye,
Okay,
David.
you ready to say, I'll call the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Yes,
The 4-1.
for the previously stated reason.
Previously stated reasons. All right, thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much. I
Carl.
You
appreciate
have a lovely home. I know where
Thanks,
you are.
Carl.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Beautiful.
it. Good night.
Take Mike out for a drink, will you, please?
All right, next
I'm just
agenda
trying to
item is
keep you
consider
guys straight. You
water
don't ever
agreement.
want to listen to me.
Don't listen to him, David.
Stormwater agreement for 632 Thorncroft Drive.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize the chairman to sign the stormwater management operation and maintenance agreement for 632 Thorncroft Drive.
Second.
Second.
Second the motion.
Thank you. I think Michelle beat you there, John.
I think she did.
Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next agenda item is the recommendation for the billing period on the sewer rates. Rick has explained this in a document and explained the financial impact of doing this and the reason for it. But Rick, you want to give us a quick summary of your your memo.
Well, as you know, we bill based on the first quarter of this year and the fourth quarter of last year. And Aqua reads them on a quarterly basis. This year's actually not too bad. We'll actually get, if we're lucky, we would get the rates possibly on April 2nd. However, we had to turn the bill around, get the bill out by April 15th. And which means that it's a fire drill to run the numbers, to double check them. And the suggestion would be is, why don't we just push back the date when you change the rates until the first meeting in July? And this would allow us to make sure that the numbers we get from Aqua are correct. You could, and all that stuff. Eliminates the fire drill.
My question is this every year, or is this a delay because of COVID, or is it,
It's basically every year we go through this fire drill.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then we should change it permanently, right?
Yeah, this would be by resolution, so we'll change it permanently to a new date.
And for this year, we'll take a hit because we'll have one less quarter of new rates of $34,000. But there's over $1 million of some in the fund balance of this account. But next year, then we'll cycle through, then we'll be back to where we were before, where we
I
had.
personally think that given the fact that it's such an ordeal, and I'm aware of what they go through for doing that, I would suggest that we do it permanently. Well,
That's the intention.
Permanently,
To John's question, Rick, do we need a resolution, or we just need to prove it and have it in the minutes, or?
No, what we actually need to do, because the language is in the ordinance. So if you're okay with this, I'll get Kristen to amend the ordinance, and we'll adopt the ordinance sometime in March.
Okay. All right. So tonight we don't really have to do anything, or should we?
A motion to advertise the ordinance.
Okay. So the motion is to schedule a public hearing for an ordinance change.
I would make the motion that we schedule a public hearing for an ordinance to make the new sewer rates effective with the July 3rd quarter billing cycle for permanently.
I'll second.
Thanks, John. Any further comment?
Yes, I have a comment. Help me understand this. The $34,000, are we taking a loss? Are we giving away $34,000 due to a calendar change?
For this year, yes.
So we are discounting. We are giving up $34,000 worth of revenue.
If we're in 2021, and in 22, we'll cycle back through.
There's an offset.
You're right. We will effectively able to give it up $34,000 in revenue, just because of the timing.
No, wait a minute. Is it going to come back in 22, or is it gone?
In 22, by changing it this year, right now, the revenues and the expenses of about $3 million are in sync. By pushing back this date, we're going to lose 1 quarter revenue at the new rate, which is roughly $34,000.
Is there any way to retroactively bill for that or not?
It would just make it more convoluted.
Okay.
I'm not ready to give up $34,000 on a whim of on a calendar issue. I'm sorry. Maybe I need better education.
What happens if, Mike, what happens if they don't get the data in a timely fashion?
It's a conundrum, but we have been so sensitive about revenue and expenses to just simply give up $34,000. I'm just uncomfortable with that.
This is a sewer operating account. So it's not the,
I know it's not the capital reserve. But it is, I know it's an enterprise fund. It just makes me feel uncomfortable that we're giving it up. Help me feel comfortable, folks. I'm
not going to be the one to convince you.
I don't want to be a pain in the neck in operations. I hear what Rick is saying.
Rick, what Rick said is, it's complicated. if we don't give up the 34,000. I guess the question is, how complicated is it?
It's all a matter of timing. It's whether they get the information in order to make the date out.
No, but if it could be addressed, understanding if we move forward, if it could be addressed, Michelle asked about back billing or something, and Rick
Yeah.
said it would be convoluted, but convoluted doesn't say it would be impossible, and I don't want to be that person either, but by the same token, $34,000, I'd like to have 34,000 in the bank. And so,
Yeah, and I hate to see somebody's paycheck
Yeah.
get shorted by 34,000.
Sure.
Hey, Rick,
And
Rick,
I'm concerned about the bill that we have in Hershey's Mill State coming up too.
Rick, if you back bill that like Michelle's talking about, it's a one and done and we retained the 34,000, right?
Let me talk to, well, back up. So we have some time. Why don't you, since we'll table it, let me talk to Chris and see if we can figure out how to recoup the $34,000.
Okay. I'm withdrawing the motion at this point anyway.
So we'll table it and I'll come back to you with.
All right.
Yeah, I think
Mike,
that's
you
the
wanna
right
make-
way. I move to table this motion.
Okay,
I've withdrawn the motion anyway, so.
Rick,
I don't know if you can withdraw a motion.
got it.
And if I can't withdraw it, then I second your motion to table it.
okay, so we have a motion to table and a second. Any further discussion on tabling this motion to future
No,
meetings?
it's fine. Rick is going to get more information. That's all.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. We table that motion. Thank you. I mentioned that we have a fund balance in the sewer operating fund of $1,137,000. So, it erodes the fund balance, but the money's there. So, okay. Next is to
Mowing agreement. I think.
consider a resolution. We're required every year to have a resolution to dispose of township records. We're required by law to maintain the records for 7 years, I believe. Rick, do we actually dispose of records, or we basically?
The truck comes at the end of March, I found out.
The truck, Marty's right.
Yeah,
The
right,
truck
Susan?
comes and we shred the financial records that are over 7 years old.
The truck
Yeah.
comes to the end of March and goodbye. And there's, if you didn't do that, you would run out of space in the basement.
Yeah, most of what we have is in the cloud or on hard drives anyhow. So this is a disposal of financial or hard documents, right?
Yes.
Anyone have any issues, questions about that?
I think it's an appropriate thing to do personally.
We did that on almost on a monthly basis in East Bradford, so it's a very.
Stop it, Michael.
What?
We're here. You're
What?
here.
What?
You're not there and here.
Well, it's
All right.
a point of reference and good practice that East Goshen is using.
You gotta use us as the benchmark from now on, not them.
Yeah.
Well, you're,
I'll make a motion that we pass a resolution authorizing
Get them
disposal of
upset over
Scotia
there.
Township records, resolution 21-191 as drafted and presented to the board.
I
Second.
second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
John,
Motion carries.
John,
Thank you.
don't sign up for Jeopardy because Michelle beats you every time.
It's my youth.
We're gonna put a button on there. We'll give
All
you,
right, next thing we want to do is consider resolution 2021-58 authorizing execution of PennDOT mowing agreement. And I remember when we first did this, there were like the PennDOT agreement for our $438 was a 500 page.
if you think you're getting paid, if you're getting paid fair wage for this, guys, you gotta think about it again. And there's no way you're gonna extract more money out of them.
And you
No.
would think they could round it off to $445 for goodness
No.
sake.
That's it. I remember going through the document the first time. I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. So, but we've been doing it for years. And so this is just a renewal of that. So
I
if you have
wouldn't
any
waste your time on
issues
it.
or questions or?
Yeah, I just have one question. Mark Miller,
Yes.
do you have any sense of what it costs us for labor and equipment depreciation, whatever you want to refer to it, to do 4 mowings a year for $445? we're well compensated in our township, et cetera. It seems like we're doing a favor to PennDOT.
That's correct.
But yeah, we are, but it's our,
It's
when
right.
you come into East Goshen Township, the grass is cut, it looks very nice. When you come into West Township, on the other side of the sign, it's 2 foot high. And it's
Could we have the Conservancy Board look at that and do possibly a Lady Bird Johnson on that strip and create some wildflower meadow rather than just cutting grass?
I mean, you could, but it's gonna take too long. And we tried, you know, I let many,
Grass looks nice on the way in.
You gotta float ideas every now and then.
I have to say,
And Mike, then we have to go back to the state and ask for permission to plant the flowers, and they'll send us a 400-page agreement that we have to sign.
I think that's 443 pages. Dave.
Yeah.
And
Not
they
only
probably
that-
have recommendations
All right,
about the flowers.
All right, I'm off. I'm
You're
But-
gonna
done.
lose this one.
I'll
Mike.
say not only that, but it becomes a hazard right there. You can't see to turn.
I get you. I get
It's terrible.
It is a fair question, though, I've asked Mark. Mark,
Yes.
you know, how much does it cost us to mow that plot for the year 4 times?
takes whatever, Steve Walker mows it, and it takes him an hour to do it with a tractor. And he weeds around 2 poles, and he's out there in an hour.
That's 4 hours a year.
So it's about
It looks-
$100 an
it
hour.
looks good.
It costs us. Okay, so we make $43.86. Okay, I'm in favor.
All right.
Oh, Mike, go back to
I
these.
forget, did we have a motion in a second?
No,
All right, let's have a motion in a second.
I move that we adopt resolution 2021-58 that authorizes the chair to execute the mowing agreement with PennDOT.
Second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
Motion
Mike,
carries. Thank you.
Mike,
All right,
Mike's gonna vote no.
under any other matter, there is one
Yes.
item we want to consider here. Michelle?
Yes, actually, in light of a recent, in light of a recent resignation by one of our Park and Recs Commission members, in order to fill that position, I'd like to nominate Jessica Patero to that position on the Park and Rec Commission.
Okay, Jessica was an alternate, and
Yes.
Christine Taraborelli has resigned, so we're making a motion to move Jessica Patero up to the as a full member of the Parks and Rec Commission.
Correct.
That's the motion. Second.
That's the motion.
I'm not seconding it.
I'll second it for the first time tonight. I
Okay.
got a button.
There you go,
Good
Marty.
job, Marty.
seconded that motion. Any further discussion?
We let those young ones
Those
do
in
it.
favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Public comment, but we don't have any public, do we, Susan?
Ricky, do we give?
We do not.
Like
No public.
Christine was, I know she was chairman for a while. Do we do anything like give her a citation or anything?
Susan writes a very nice letter.
Okay.
How many years of service did she provide?
Don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
And somewhere's in that range.
Probably more than a little.
David, I just wanted to mention one last thing if we're getting ready to close up and to share with the public, and that is that we've had presented to us as elected officials, as staff, and as our appointed representatives on the ABCs, our code of ethics, which we're all asked to, if nothing else, read and or sign and submit for our files. And I just want the public to know that the code of ethics that we read and we sign off on is another example of the gravity with which we perform our public service on behalf of the residents of the township. And it has to do with issues of conflict of interest, improper relationships, or matters of that would be deemed inappropriate or improper in our responsibilities and duties, either as elected officials, employees, or as appointed representatives, officials for our township. So I think the code of ethics, I'm not sure whether it's published on our website or not a bad idea to put it on there, Rick, if it's not already. but I just wanted to point that out because it's this time of year where we've all been presented with it, and I'm returning it to the staff with that consideration. We take our public service very seriously and try and hold ourselves through this code of ethics to the highest standards possible in local government.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mike, and I appreciate that. And yes, we all do take it very seriously.
Mike, you
one
want to
final
make sure
note-
that people relate that to the fact that it's more detailed and more all-consuming than what's provided to the state in their ethics form.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because really,
Yeah,
that's.
we have two. We actually have two: the state and the one that we do as well. So that's important to note. One final thing: correspondence reports. We received a very, very nice email complimenting Mark Miller and his crew for the fine job of snow clearance in a season where we've been lambasted by Mother Nature. So I want to recognize that letter of correspondence.
Mike,
Mine says sent in by Mark Miller.
yeah,
I-
no, that's Mark Miller's mother.
Yeah, I know. I joked about him closing my driveway 3 times last snowfall, but we got it dug out. So.
It's tough to do.
All right.
It's tough to do with that red wine on the other hand.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Oh,
Second.
Oh, there we go.
Ah,
Mike
Mike
made a motion. Who wants the second?
I'll second it.
All right, Michelle seconds. All those in favor, aye.
Hi. Good night,
Opposed, no.
everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.